want to get into the biggest anxiety, I think, for all of us is the election that, of course, happened November 3rd, was the last day of the election day. And now we have literally for 4 days have been counting votes. So depending on what you watch, the count is different. If you're watching CNN, Biden has 253 electoral votes to Trump's 213. If you're watching Fox News, which I was really surprised at, Fox News has them at 264 and Trump at 214 because we're counting Arizona. I just didn't think if somebody was just going to prematurely give something, I didn't think it would be Fox that would do it.
They tired, man. They just tired.
They just tired, man, and it's just like with the unprecedented people voting, especially mail-in ballots, this is taking forever. Biden broke the record of most votes for him, and who's number 2 is Trump. So this is the most that people have voted, period. But still, I don't know if y'all heard the Van Jones on CNN, his comments about it. 47% of the country voted for a racist, misogynistic, white supremacist. 47 still. The reason why we're still counting is because battleground states like Georgia are so close. And the question is, like, with this, because really, if we're just talking about moral principles, Biden should have won in a landslide. What does this election, to you guys, what does this election say about America right now? What do y'all think?
I mean, it's the same thing I told you before. People vote for their money and safety over anything else. They don't care about health. They don't care about social justice. They don't care about all that stuff. All they care about is their money and safety. More people will come out and vote for that than anything else.
Are we saying more people? Are we saying people or are we saying white people?
I mean, you still got black people that voted for him. It wouldn't be this close if it wasn't minorities still voting for him.
Yeah, but the black vote is 10%. So the black vote for him is still very small.
But you still got people voting because people want to secure their money. Everything about them, it's money. Safety is always the second thing. They don't care about anything else. So when you start talking about raising taxes and doing other stuff that's going to affect them, they don't.
Yeah, but we're talking. Well, then that's an ignorant statement if that's what they believe, because the raising taxes is just a right-wing talking point. We've all seen that he was talking about raising taxes on if you make over 400,000, and that's for after you make 400,000, that dollar, then it starts being taxed. So it's up to that 400,000, you're not getting taxed. And then 50 Cent was wrong. It wasn't 61%, is what he claimed.
He said 62.
Well, yeah, it wasn't that. That's a lie. And again, so they're following these talking points. Then if that's not true at all.
Well, I think it's a combination of both, because it's not only talking points with the Republicans, it's also the talking points with the Democrats. So, I mean, the way Democrats talked when it initially came out about police reform did not help the Democrats at all, because the way they phrased it and the way they marketed it, that definitely gave the Republicans an option of being able to kind of do fear mongering to kind of convince people to vote for them. So I get that part. Like, it's not even the fact that it's truly security. It's just like it's a feeling of being secure with whoever you vote. And unfortunately for some of the white people that voted for him, they feel secure with the individual that they feel is going to protect their privilege from being taken away from them.
It's always going to be your interest and bottom line. I mean,
yeah.
And you look at them talking about defunding police reform, all that other stuff. It's like most of the blue cities, crime is up. So that was always his talking point. Look at how they're talking about all this, and now crime is skyrocketing in these areas.
Now the question is it true?
Those are still talking points, because the Democrats never said defund the police. They never said that. Biden has never said that. Kamala Harris has never said that. They talked about reform, but they've never said defund the police. And then Trump keeps saying that they said but they've never said that.
You see,
Well,
all
they never
you know
said that, but you have
Yeah.
people from their party that have said that.
Yeah, I'm strictly talking about Trump uses that as a dog whistle, which Biden has never said.
Well, that's the point. It's dog whistle. So people are going like us four. We are smart enough to kind of like research and do whatever we need to do in terms of to try to determine who we're going to vote for. But the majority of Americans, I mean, at least 70 million of them aren't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so they're like people are looking for a reason to justify their security and to justify them internally wanting to be selfish to think about themselves.
Yeah.
And that is how people are. So, and unfortunately, we are the minorities in this country along with other minorities, and we are a growing demographic. And the more we grow, the lesser chances of people who are in power having to actually give up, not having to give up anything. And I think that's what people fear. People do not want to give up power. People do not want to give up their, like Rawdon said, people don't want to give up their money, people don't want to give up their privilege, and people want to be safe. And regardless of what's the reality or not, you're going to believe whoever preaching that allows you to feel that feeling of this guy's making sure that we can keep the status quo going. And that's pretty much what it is. It's like people want that. Now, black men, I don't get. But then again, I do get, because and I don't know how to word it. I feel like the black men that voted for Trump, they almost like they want the privilege that are given to white men. Mm-hmm. So that they want that feeling of feeling like they have that power, or because otherwise I don't understand as a black man, unless you're a really rich black man, how you can justify your actions of voting against your own and your own people in your own interest. I mean, unless you've been to jail and you feel like the crimes that you were committed to is actually a reason for you to vote for Trump. But other than that, I don't understand why black men voted for Trump in the number that they did.
Well, I always said that one of the things that I've learned about this election is black men don't want to dismantle supremacy. They want to be a part of it. Yeah. So they want to be able, a lot of us want to be able to disenfranchise people ourselves, males, definitely. So I definitely agree with you on that. EJ, what about you?
I agree with the points. I think everyone is a lot about self-preservation. So when you vote, you do vote what you feel aligns with preserving yourself. As far as black men voting for Trump, I mean, you can definitely see that. And you have to look at the demographic of black men that are voting for Trump. It's not people that are usually uneducated. They're usually more educated, and they actually are making more money. So they're usually around the middle class. So we talk about black men, their biggest thing is money, right? So if anything is relating to taxes, then yeah, you would be inclined to vote for a Republican because maybe you're potentially already in that tax bracket that's going to get some relief, as opposed to people that are lower on the lower end of the spectrum. So I can definitely see why black men would vote Trump, because there are things that align with what they are looking for in a candidate. Now, when you start to throw a moral compass, that's where the question really comes in to my mind, because considering the things that he's done or said or continues to do, how do you justify and how do you overlook those things? So that's my biggest concern. I think that also another talking point that people do is like, well, black people always just vote Democrat because that's what they've been told to do, or that's what they've done historically, and the Democrats have done nothing for black people, but we continue to vote for them. I think that Jamel Hill said it best in an interview when she was on with Angela Rye. She said maybe it is that black people vote for Democrats because they see that as a way of being able to push the narrative that they want, because the Democrats, while they may not have done exactly what we want, we could use them as a vehicle to push what we want, because they try to cater to us, because they know that without our vote, they can't be in office a lot of times. And if you think about this election, you have to think about the cities that are like dominating with the black vote, right? So you think about Philly, you think about what?
Look at Atlanta. Look at Georgia. The counties that came in, like Clayton County.
All of those different places have huge black presence that usually will vote Democratic. So I think that, yeah, okay, we might always vote Democrat, but it's because we see an opportunity to be able to use them to push our narrative. And I think for me, when I vote, I think about what aligns with where I want to see us go and what will be the easiest way to do it. I don't see from us, Black people, period, Black man, period, gay, period, that voting for a Republican candidate at this time is going to push further what I want to see happen in America.
Well, anybody,
So
and I always said, and I'll let you go in raw after this. Anybody that says that Black people that vote for Democrats are brainwashed are dumbasses, and they don't understand historical context. They vote why Black people move to Democrats is like you just said. They're the ones that actually try to listen. Republicans don't even try to listen. And then they always talk about the party of Lincoln and all that stuff. But when civil rights happened, a lot of those racist people that were on the Democrats moved to Republicans. So the whole party's changed. So we keep saying those little brainwash right-wing talking points, but not talking about the whole context. But go ahead, Ross.
so I'm touch on a couple things I ever said. So it goes back to when we talked last week about what not last week, the week before, when 50 Cent said about the 62% and all that stuff. And I brought up, people forget where they come from. This is exactly what happened. We forget when we get to a certain tax bracket, we were poor at one point. We forget all that. Now we just want to secure what we have. And we don't give a damn about anybody else coming up behind us.
Right.
And also, I want to add to that, because I also want to make the distinction that I feel there's a difference between being a Republican based off of the concept of what they truly believe Republicans are and being a Trump Republican. Because me personally, I can understand why, based off of where you are in your life as a Black person, I can at least understand why you will want to vote Republican. Because I don't think that you choosing to vote Republican if you're a Black man means that you're completely ignoring where you come from and stuff like that. But with Trump, he says things that clearly goes against you as a Black person. So I want to make that distinction, because I think it's important in terms of making that difference.
When I say it, I don't mean that everybody that voted for him really supports every ideal that he has.
No, that was against in general, because sometimes we like to clump everything together sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Republicans that don't agree with everything that he says, but they're going to vote party line because they want certain things.
Mm-hmm.
They need certain things to be in place. So that's the same thing with Democrats. Like, not everybody agree with everything that they totally talk about, but they're going to, like, for instance, I don't agree with everything they talk about, but I vote party line because for the majority of it, I need certain things to happen. For certain things to happen, I need to vote that way. So, and then it goes back to also, you talk about morals. You put too much faith into humanity. If everybody had morals, we wouldn't have crime. We wouldn't have disdain. People wouldn't judge each other. But that's where we are. It's not everybody carries the same morals as everybody else. You got to think about how people grew up, how people are prejudiced, how people think about certain things, and it's just this election is just showing you the demographic of how the nation is really divided when it comes to several issues.
Right. The only thing I disagree with you about is that if you vote for Trump, you do co-sign for what he says. You do agree with what he said. You are for white supremacy. You are for racism. If you are voting with him, we've seen a lot of people where they voted like Georgia. Biden's winning Georgia, but for the Senate, like David Perdue is winning. So a lot of Republicans still might vote Republican, but they're not voting for Trump. So what it shows is, yes, you are standing up for white supremacy. You can't sit here and say Trump ain't a la carte. I'm cool with this, but I'm not cool with this. No, when you vote for him, you taking all that shit with him. And what I said,
you can't really say that, because I mean you're putting too much into it when it comes to everybody's view. Not everybody is going to agree with everything that someone says, but they're going to vote for their bottom line. And so they might not.
That's where we disagree. I think you're putting too much into finances when it's more about white supremacy and keeping my power. keeping my privilege.
I think it's a combination of both.
It's a combination of both, but you can't say that certain people are voting for this just because they agree with white supremacy. Some people just want to vote.
They're okay with white supremacy. Then they don't.
I'm not saying they're okay with it, but you gotta understand the bottom line is always more important to people than anything else.
You're okay if you're willing to vote for Trump. Then racism, white supremacy is not a line in the sand for you.
I can't sign off on that, and I think the reason why is because we only have two parties. Like we have like two options. You're either gonna vote Democrat and you're gonna vote Republican. And the thing about it is, and the thing about it is, there's a full spectrum that goes from AOC Democrat to Trump Republican, and there's no middle ground in terms of a Reagan Republican or an Obama Democrat or a Biden Democrat and so forth that allows us to be able to differentiate our views as people. Because one thing we all can agree to, even though we're like, there's someone who could say that I can't vote for a Democrat because Democrats support abortion. And because of their belief in Christianity, in terms of what they believe, they just can't vote Democrat because they just don't support abortion. Now, for you personally may not support abortion, but you may have a choice. But for someone else, they just look at that as completely immoral because they just can't get down with that. So it goes on both sides.
No, it is going both, but that's showing that you can't do a la carte. So when I do,
but everything's not so black and white. People have their own reasons for voting for certain things.
No, they can do their own reasons, but like you said, it's a difference between Republican and a Trump supporter, and you can't do a la carte. And white people mostly are trying to do this a la carte, and you can't do it. What this is saying to me, back to the question about what it's saying about America, is that black people are still at the mercy of white people. And what I'm going to say about this is our population is so small that even if we want to change, we have to have enough white people to see our side of it, to hopefully understand and back us for something to happen. So if it was literally,
we've seen that through history, like slavery, civil rights, anything we need white allies.
But that's what I'm saying, that literally if it was just directly blacks against whites, we would lose, or whites against minorities, we would lose every time.
Hands down.
So what I'm saying is we're still at the mercy of white people. We have to hope that we change enough white people's mind, or enough white people understand us for something to happen. If we don't get that, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen.